the circuit they call the Citadel of Speed. Monza, just north of Milan. Round 2 of the FIA Sportscar Championship. Terrific action guaranteed. Joining me in the commentary box, David Addison. And David, this is a race with a tremendous flavour, a tremendous history. They've recreated the Monza 1000 Ks. They're going to run some 5.5 hours around this tricky track. It is, as I said, a race with history, and it's round 2 of the championship. We started in Barcelona, we'll move on to Spa, Brno, Magny-Cours, Donington, Nürburgring, and finish it all up in Kyalami. But this Monza track, the fans flock just there in the parkland, as I said, north of Milan. An excellent entry, and of course, what better than a number of Ferraris entered, and Ferraris with a chance of victory. There's the old banking, of course. The first time I went to the Monza 1000 Ks, they raced on a combined circuit. We used that old banking and the main circuit as well, and that was a really tough challenge. Some great names, of course, have raced here. We just saw Henri Pescarolo climbing out of a car, Jackie Ickx up on the banking there, the marvellous Ferrari P4s. The prototypes from Ferrari and Ford, they raced here. And then Mercedes-Benz came in the 1980s. We had the Matras. They came in all shapes and sizes. The magnificent Porsche 917s. And 1,000 kilometres, always a big test. Arturo Mazzario, the little Italian. Brian Redman, Chris Amon, Lorenzo Bandini. The great names, they've all raced at the Monza 1000 Ks. But here, David, are some of the cars that will race this year. There's John Nielsen in the Dome, the Riley and Scott, the Ascaris, and of course, the Ferraris.
And that's the car that the Italian fans are here to see, because the Ferrari, not the youngest car in the field by any means, but it still won the opening round of the championship. This week it has to take on the Domes, for example, as well as the Riley and Scotts, but the Ferrari is the car they're all going to be cheering for here at Monza.
Let's check out the driver points after one round. That victory, as David said, for Christian Pescatore and Marco Zadra puts them at the top of the pile with 20 points. The Ferrari finished in second place. There's the 3 drivers. And then behind that, Mauro Baldi and Gary Formato, who's now driving for a different team. And meanwhile, in the SR2 category, it's led by Martin O'Connell and Warren Carway. They're getting ready for Le Mans, so they won't be adding to their score here. Larry Alberto and Ted Bork will, however, be racing. And so too will this man, Didier Rodriguez, the former 500c bike racer.
Hopefully we're not gonna have any problem. I have 2 very good teammates, and so I mean Sam Amcock and Gary Formato, and we're making a very good team, and that's the most important for a long race like that, 1,000 kilometers. So hopefully it's gonna be good.
Fabio Montani's R&M team had a dreadful time in Barcelona. Gary Formato has since quit the team, but meanwhile they now have the services of the ex-Ferrari Grand Prix driver, Ivan Capelli. Nice to see him back in sports car racing.
Driving for an Italian team in Monza, that's a great thing, huh?
Yes, especially finding back a friend like Mauro Baldi, because I know Mauro very well. I raced with him again in Nürburgring 1997. So it's funny to have this kind of experience with Mauro, with this car, with an Italian team in Monza, because Monza is always a fantastic place.
Qualifying got underway with, appropriately enough, the Ferraris heading the cars out onto the circuit, but this was not to be Scuderia Ferrari's afternoon. By the end of qualifying, the grid would have a very unfamiliar look to it. Lights blazing as the cars came out onto the circuit for a very dramatic qualifying session, one of the most bizarre the 1,000 kilometres had ever had. It was the Reynard 01Q of the new recruit to the championship, Guy Smith, which grabbed a dramatic pole position by the narrowest of margins for Redmond Bright in the 35-minute qualifying period. Smith there in the silver car, giving pole position for the reigning SR2 champions, Redmond Bright. Unexpected, but richly deserved.
Yeah, well, I think, David, that Guy Smith is a very competitive driver. Of course, he's been racing for Audi, raced out in America in Indy Lights, and This car does have a lot of potential. Obviously, it disappointed last year. Interesting to see what Guy Smith has to say.
It's so close at the top. You the Courage and the Dutch Dome, all on 140s.
Yeah, it's a great championship with some good drivers and some good cars, and it's never easy, you know, at the front. It's always close, and that's what you expect of this type of racing, and I'm sure the race tomorrow will be equally as close.
In qualifying, a scant 1/10 of a second behind Guy was the C60 Courage Peugeot, qualified by the impressive youngster Sébastien Bourdais. This French youngster is indeed building a very strong reputation for himself as a sports car driver this year. Also, of course, racing in Formula 3000, so a very busy man. And there is the dome of Jan Lammers in its new, and I'm not quite sure if I like, the checkered flag livery. David, what about this?
It's the world's fastest chessboard, isn't it? Jan Lammers, former Le Mans winner, sharing the car with a man that's only 19 years of age, Val Hillebrand, and this car with its sleek lines, one that certainly likes long straights and very quick corners.
Here's the other dome. This is the John Nielsen car. This is the S101, new for this year, built by the Japanese company, of course. Previously raced in Formula 3000, building cars in Japan, had aspirations to build a Grand Prix car, never came to fruition. And 4 Judd engines in the top 4, David, because here is another Judd-powered car. It is the Ascari, and Werner Lupberger, the talented South African, at the wheel.
And that's a car in need of luck as well, isn't it? Although, by the end of the session, it needed more luck and a snatch vehicle because the car had slithered off into the gravel bed. It was not, though, the Ferrari's qualifying session, was it? Because try as they might, drivers such as Christian Pescatori could not get in a quick enough time.
No, basically, David, they were lacking speed down the straights, quick through the corners, but the V12 engine there is a little long in the tooth. Let's look now at the SR2 grid, and amongst the drivers there, Arturo Mazzario, who won this race 25 years ago for Ferrari and then went on to win it again the following year. So he was going to take part in his 10th 1,000 kilometre race, but for the second race in succession. The fastest man in qualifying, the Alola B2K40 of Larry Alberto, the Grand Am champion, together with the promising Swede Ted Bjork. There they are, just carving through the field. A few Porsches been allowed into this race. This is new for the Sportscar Championship.
It was a disappointing session, though, for the BM Autosport team, which always goes well at Monza. The sleek Alfa Romeo-powered car of Renato Nobili and Massimo Monti, and also for this weekend, Fabio Mancini was struggling a little bit, and that normally is one of the cars to beat in SR2. And this new Lucchini of Cecco Canetti and Massimo Saccomano, third on its circuit debut, just half a second from SR2 pole.
So let's check out the grid. Guy Smith putting the Reynard on the pole alongside the Courage, then the 2 domes together on row 2. Ben Collins and Werner Lupberger in the Ascari, and the best of the Ferraris on row 3. On row 4, another Ferrari and the Riley and Scott with the Judd power. And then the big Ford V8, Lola de Rodriguez Formato and Hancock, and the Judd-powered Ferrari. And then we get down into the SR2 cars, led, as we said, by York and Alberto, and then the various Italian cars hoping to do very well. And interestingly, the pill beam near the back of the new team with Michael Mallock in that car. And nice to see Ian Khan back as well in that British engine machine. So a very full grid, and as we said, David, interesting to see that there's the Porsches not shown here also in the race. Lined up on the start grid then. Some 30 cars zigzag to get heat into their tyres on the warming up lap for the 28th running of this great Monza sports car occasion. We've got the Ford V8s, we've got the Judd V10s, we've got the screaming Ferrari V12s. A great sight to warm the heart of any sports car enthusiast. And really, David Anderson, a very open result as we ride in the Ascari with Werner Lupberger.
The Ferrari is still the car to beat in the championship, but the newer cars surely are going to have their day of days before long. The race gets underway, on board with Lupberger, looking for a way past John Nielsen, going down towards the first of the Monza chicanes, and this is where it gets very crowded indeed, of course, but it's a new look Monza chicane these days. The cars then swing their way, first of all, right, then left, loop their way round, and they get back on the power, and somebody in trouble there, look, running out of road. That's one of the Ferraris. I think it was possibly the Lilienbrenner Calderari car.
So heading round the Curva Grande then, just trying to see exactly who's in the lead, because we are riding a little further back down the field with Werner Lutberger, who blasts past between the two Lesmos into fourth place, and I think it's Mark Smithson who is at the wheel of the Reynard who is leading. Yes, and it's the Courage just going down the inside. I'm reading this from the top of his helmet, David.
Well, Lutberger gains the place. Let's see now whether or not he's going to be able to do anything about those ahead. Yes, he is, as they plunge now downhill. It looks very narrow indeed, that part of the circuit, but it's the Courage then in the lead, and side by side for second. Look at this. On the inside there, Jan Lammers, Val Hillebrand's Dome trying to hang on to the place, and Jan Lammers just about there, being able to fend the rest of them off as they turn out of the chicane, accelerating now down to the Parabolica, but just look at how Werner Lutberger is going now.
Yeah, this British Ascari team, led by Klaus Vaart, has done a magnificent job. I believe they now have 2 confirmed entries for Le Mans this year, which is certainly good news for them.
Place gained up on the inside of Mark Smithson. He goes now. Mark Smithson is a quick driver, but is he as quick as Werner Lutberger? I rather doubt it. Certainly Guy Smith is the class act in that car. So at the moment you can expect the Reynard to be slipping down the order a little bit. When Guy Smith gets into the car, then it's going to fly. Over the line they come. Bourdais leading Lammers. Lutberger up into third place. Super John Nielsen now. He's up into fourth. They come pouring down into the chicane with Mauro Baldi rounding out the top 6. Remember, Baldi won here last year in that fascinating race we had when it became wetter towards the end. And John Nielsen recovering after that qualifying accident in Spain, going well here in the second dome.
4 different chassis in the top 5, and one intrigue, of course, is Giovanni Lavaggi in the GLV Bruns Judd Pad Ferrari, who normally has such a good race, and here he is, dumped it in the gravel.
And that could very well be the end of the race for him. He's not gone that far off, but of course, as long as he's in the gravel bed, he's losing time. And Lavaggi, who has always been very good in sports cars, had a rather ill-fated foray into Formula 1, looks as though that could be it for him. Now there is the Ascari, Klaus Vaart's car, Werner Lutberger driving it and hustling on, catching up to Jan Lammers. That's a rather undignified sight, isn't it? Lavaggi being brought out of the gravel bed.
Yes, David, but he's still strapped to the car, exactly. And that is worthwhile doing. He'll get back on the racetrack, because the policy of this series, they would just see the Ferrari on the side there, the policy is to keep people in the race if you can, just as they do in America, and I'm all for that.
And in a race of 1,000 kilometres, that's going to be, what, 5 hours? There is scope for that car to perhaps get itself back into the top 6, maybe the top 3 by the end. So you're quite right, it is well worth Lavaggi staying in it and trying to get back in the race. It will only have lost him a lap. It depends what the pace is like. A safety car situation would help him here. He's going to have to make a pit stop, isn't he, Andrew? Look at all the gravel coming out of the bottom of the car, and those tyres won't be in the best of condition now. Now there as well, look, is the Courage about to put 1 lap on Mauro Baldi already. That car has been handling very badly all weekend, Mauro Baldi's Riley and Scott. And this, Andrew Marriott, is a far cry from last year. Baldi won last season, now he's a lap behind already.
Yeah, he won the race with Gary Formato last year, is now in that Lola, and he's driving a Paynos at Le Mans, we hear. Meanwhile, here, the 2 Ferraris and Giovanni Lavaggi in the Judd Pad one is already making up for that lost ground.
Yeah, I just hope the red mist doesn't descend, because of course what would be awful for him is to go off and make another mistake now in his efforts to play catch-up. This is the other star, isn't it, Werner Lutberger, who really is coming good as a sports car racer. Let's see whether he can pick his way past the traffic and get onto the tail once again of Jan Lammers.
Oh, he wasn't happy with that, was he?
Absolutely not, no. In a race like that, you do have to rely on the traffic a little bit, and they're definitely getting in the way. I think that was Didier de Radiguez, wasn't it, being rather uncooperative. As into the pit lane comes the Courage. Now it's got a good lead. It should be able to hang on to the lead, even with this pit stop, I would have thought.
Yeah, obeying the 60 kilometre speed limit. And flames, look at that! Well, it was a quick flash flyer. Oh, more flames. Oh, dangerous situation, and, well, the best way is to get out of the pit and get back in the race, I think.
He's away from the hazard, isn't he? Full marks to the marshals there, who were on the scene very, very quickly indeed with the fire extinguisher. Now that's Lutberger lapping Didier de Radiguez, but that's cost him time in his battle now to get onto the tail once again of Jan Lammers. That familiar Stefan Beloff style livery on the crash helmet, which you now associate with Lutberger, and you can see it being thrown around in the cockpit. This is a good old buffeting ride he gets in that car.
Yeah, I notice he's using quite a lot of curb here. He really is on it. Werner Luttberger, of course, he had, was it 3 seasons in Formula 3000 with Pete Briggs' Edenbridge team. He's used to racing at a top level, raced against some very good people. Okay, he wasn't a winner in Formula 3000, but he was a consistent contender and came into Formula 3000 really with not too much experience. Meanwhile, we see him now from the outside in the number 17, Ascari. This team now managed by Ian Dawson. And is that the Courage limping a bit?
Well, it's certainly the Courage, and it's still leading, although its pace, well, I was going to suggest it hasn't been affected by the fire, but its lap times are going up a little bit, so maybe there is something still untoward with that car. The fight for second place now having to pick its way through the traffic. Jan Lammers just a little bit impeded there, I think, because now the Ascari is much, much closer. And this is a fascinating battle. You've got the old master, Grand Prix Le Mans winner Jan Lammers versus Werner Luttberger. And that is one of the Ferraris in trouble. That's Pescatori and Saudra's car. That is the championship leader's car in trouble.
In trouble. It's been pushed away with a sort of air of despondency which says our race is over.
And that won't go down well with the Tifosi, will it? The Ferrari mad crowd seeing one of their favourite cars be pushed away. They're also, as we are, seeing this great battle for second place. Jan Lammers versus Werner Luttberger. More back markers ahead. And surely now Luttberger can't get much closer. He's right in the wheel tracks of the dome as they come down towards the Parabolica. Great fight this.
And Jan Lammers won this race back in 1987 driving a Jaguar XJ9. He won it with John Watson.
At which stage they both come to the end of their Formula 1 careers. And of course the following year, Jan won at Le Mans, didn't he, for Jaguar in 1988. Across the line he goes, the dome then ahead of the Ascari. New names to sports car racing this year, but going well nonetheless. Sébastien Bourdais leading in the Courage, second and third, Dome and Ascari, Lammers and Luttberger. Fourth is the other Dome in the hands of John Nielsen, and fifth, going really well here as well, is Sam Hancock, at the moment the man behind the wheel of the Kramer Lola. Now we're on board with Werner Luttberger. He's done the catching, Andrew. Where does he find the gap to do the passing?
Well, I would think the normal place was to be to do him into the Parabolica. Nice long fast run into there, but of course we've got various back markers which may aid him, and Jan Lammers really working very hard in the dome. We'll hand over to the young F3 driver Val Hildebrand in a little while. The pair will be racing this car at Le Mans, and some of those Porsche GT cars. Really mobile chicanes in this race, 4 of them all running together.
That's the Schroeder Pilbeam going through, and Martin Henderson, former International Group N Endurance champion. That's the Courage, which I think is going slower now than ever before, and that's why there's a wheel off. That wheel belongs to the Courage.
It certainly does.
The race leader is still going. It's on 3 wheels. If he can just get it back to the pits, he might still be with a chance here. But that car really is in trouble, and I just wonder what damage is being done there.
Bit of understeer in the right-handers, but no sparks coming off the front. That car is very stiff indeed. Now we can see what happened. Oh, it happened under braking as well. Gave him a very big scare indeed.
Up the escape road he went. Now he's going to lose the lead, of course, because we have the Ascari and the Domes going through. Sébastien Bourdais, although he's going slowly, he's not going that slowly, is he?
Probably overtake some of those Porsche GT cars.
On he goes. There's the other Dome going past in the hands of John Nielsen. Well, a good effort this by Sébastien Bourdais. He's going to get it back to the pits. Now, I just wonder how much time it is going to lose him. It doesn't look as though it's done any more damage to the car. There is Jan Lammers then in the checkered Dome being caught by John Nielsen, and still this amazing 3-wheel Courage turning its way through the Parabolica. It looks remarkably stable for a 3-wheeler, doesn't it?
It certainly does. A word here as the car comes in for the pit stop. Henri Pescarola, of course, running this pit, and the car is familiar bright green colour. He wore his crash helmet since the days he raced a Matra MS5 in Formula 3 racing. Fresh Goodyear and wheel goes on. It appears absolutely no damage done, so they're lucky to get away with that.
The car has been refueled as well. Back into the race goes the Courage. Let's in the meantime, though, here in the pits from Christian Pescatori.
Christian Pescatori, winner in Barcelona, but a big disappointment in Monza.
Yeah, but a big problem with engine. After 20 laps, I have a crash engine with problem oil.
Back on the track, battle going on here between the Domes, trying to pick their way through the traffic. Jan Lammers there being reeled in by John Nielsen. Those cars looking a bit of a handful through the tighter corners.
Yeah, David, that is the battle for second place, and the man behind this Dome team, the design of the cars, Tadashi Sasaki, must be very happy with this. And both of the Domes, of course, chasing after the lead car, and that now is very much Werner Luckberger in the Ascari. I'm just wondering where the Courage has dropped to Domes putting him another lap down. And meanwhile, all the time, Giovanni Lavaggi going very quickly in the bronze car, having dumped it in the gravel early on.
Yeah, he's now 7th and he's lapping quicker than anybody else out there, so Lavaggi doing a great job here. He shares that car with Christian Van, who's been getting better and better as a sports car racer over recent seasons. But that's the race leader, Werner Luckberger, 20 seconds clear now of the two Domes. The Ascari has never had a win. It's a bit premature to suggest it might happen today, but it's going well at the moment. That team run by the very experienced Ian Dawson, engineered technically by John McNeil. And there you can see John Nielsen battling with Sébastien Bourdais. And into the pit lane comes the Dome. John Nielsen for his first routine stop. Into the pits he goes. And Bourdais now doesn't have to worry about passing him on the track. He can do it without any problem at all. He goes over the line and Super John comes down the pit road, Andrew.
Yes, I think that puts the Courage back on the lead lap. Just see this pit stop here. John Nielsen, of course, with the Danish-backed Den Blar Arvis team. Ran in a pair of Panos last year. Switched to this Dome and very happy with the choice.
John Nielsen there, stalls it. He was about to leave the pit lane. Oh dear, he gets away eventually, but that car really losing a bit of time. In the meantime, this is Val Hillebrand, who's taken over now from Jan Lammers.
Yeah, meanwhile, John Nielsen still hurting from that big accident he had in the opening round of the championship. Cracked a couple of ribs, and he's still not absolutely 100%. Nice to see several young drivers in this series, people like Ben Collins, Martin O'Connell, Sam Hancock, Christian Van, you just mentioned, and this boy here, Val Hillebrand, who I believe is the son of former Dutch racer Tony Hillebrand.
Yeah, we saw Val Hillebrand racing at Spa last year in the British F3 Championship round there. He was a bit wild, and they're being wild as well. Spinning off is the Reynard. Now, that's Peter Owen at the wheel of it at the moment, and that car is going to lose yet more time. It's already 4 laps adrift of the leaders, and that hasn't helped at all. Guy Smith yet to take over that car, and that's when the real fascination develops, because Guy Smith is much quicker than Peter Owen and Mark Smithson.
Just looking back at that black and white Dome, I believe the idea is that you sign your name in the white bits, if you're Dutch that is, because this is the Racing for Holland entry, and that will help pay for their entry at Le Mans. So they're hoping to fill all those white spaces. Can't tell exactly how many there are, however.
And you're allowed to sign as many as you want, so you can have 2 goes and therefore be double Dutch.
Thank you.
Quite. There it is. There's the checkered Dome turning its way out of the parabolica, and I reckon it's going to come in this time. Yes, it is. Into the pit lane comes Val Hillebrand. Now, is that a bit early for another stop?
Not sure about that, Dave. Just checking out the positions there. Luckberger, Nielsen, Bourdais, Hillebrand, Hancock, and the best of the Ferrari, Zadra, in 6th place.
So Val Hillebrand down the pit lane. The team goes to work. There's not a great amount of hurry going on here, which still concerns me a little bit. Let's see. They're going to put new tyres on the car.
Very busy around there. I'm seeing Sam Hancock going through the field with the bright yellow crash helmet.
And Lavaggi charging through that as well. And there's the Courage being blocked by a Porsche. Dear me, all a bit touch and go there, isn't it?
Well, this is sports car racing. This is the fun of it, isn't it? Not much fun for the drivers, but great fun to watch and great fun to commentate on. And look at Lavaggi having a battle there with Sam Hancock. Meanwhile, Mark Cole is down in the pits, and he's caught a few words with Mark Smithson after his stint.
I don't know whether we had got the tyre pressures slightly wrong, but the first set of tyres went away, and then I got a puncture in 6th gear through the Grande Curve, which was fairly exciting, and I couldn't slow the car down, obviously, to get in the chicane. I was lucky to keep going in a straight line.
Grande Curve, I thought it was a Curve Grande, actually. But meanwhile, into 2nd place now, Sébastien Bourdais is past the Dome, and the Dome is slowing.
That's John Nielsen. He's got a problem. That's the Den Bleu Vis Dome crawling round. Is that a bit of smoke out of the back of it? Potentially, I think it is. Just wisps of smoke there. John Nielsen, I don't think he's going to make it to the pits. Oh dear, another disappointment for the Dome.
Look like engine problems to me. And meanwhile, Werner Luckberger continues his magnificent drive here. He will soon hand over to Ben Collins.
But that said, there's only a gap of, what, 20 seconds between the top two. Now they're going off as well. He's Val Hillebrand. He stayed in the car, but he's in the gravel. 20 seconds between the leaders. And now Hillebrand in the gravel. Come on, he says, I want to push, I want to push.
Well, it's all turned wrong for the Dome team, hasn't it? Well, the Dome manufacturer, the two cars both in trouble now.
So Werner Lutberger still leads. He's watching the opposition drop around the circuit, isn't he? He's just gone past one Dome. Now he comes down to see another one beached in the gravel. He's going to lose it a lap, therefore. And unlike the Lavaggi situation, this time the driver gets out of the car. That looks like it's out for the day.
Oh, he's not happy with himself.
Through the traffic comes the race leader. Look for the green Courage, though. That is Werner Lutberger. He leads, but not that far behind, of course, now is the green Courage. Sebastian Bourdais still doing a great job here.
Well, being pulled crabwise out of the gravel. Hopefully get it back in. There is Werner Lutberger. And, well, all of a sudden he's back in the Dome and off he goes, accelerating on the grass. So, having got over his disappointment, he realises that there are many twists and turns in motor racing, particularly in 1,000-kilometre sports car races. He's back in the event.
The tyres are going to be a bit dirty. He may well have to make a pit stop because of that. I'm afraid he'd already made 2 stops and then going into the gravel, losing a lap at least. The Dome is now well out of contention, but it's going to be a long, gruelling race this. You've seen other cars in trouble. He may well be able to claw back time later on. Lammers, of course, also to get another stint in that car. The Courage there, having just come out of the pits, I think, loses the place because there on the outside goes the Ascari. That puts it now, in fact, 1 lap ahead. Lutberger leading the Courage by a lap. It's a great race, this Monza 1,000 kilometres.
Here in the Monza 1000 Ks, Peter Owen brings the Reynard in for a pit lane speeding penalty. So more disappointment for the Reynard. Well, at least it was on pole position. And Peter Owen accelerates away. There is Pescarolo's Courage, driven by Laurent Redon, Formula 3 French champion in 1995. And now Werner Lutberger's in the pits. And Ben Collins will take over. Ben Collins of Formula 3 fame, of Indy Racing Lights fame, newcomer in sports car racing and really loving it.
That's a routine stop, no real problems there for the Ascari. Here is Laurent Redon rounding the Parabolica, and the Ascari is in trouble. Look at this, they've got to change the brake discs, and that's going to lose them 1-2 laps possibly. That is a problem. It looked all routine, but those brake discs have had a pounding round this circuit, and the Ascari once again is set to slip down the order, and that means that the new race leader once again, look, is Laurent Redon. The Courage is back in front.
And Giovanni Lavaggi has just unlapped himself. He's doing a long, well, not stint, he's doing several stints in a row as far as I can see. He's been in the car right from the beginning. And those brake rotors, as they call them in America, have been changed. The rear bodywork is going back on, and the Ascari will be back in the race.
Well, the man to watch, as you say, now is very definitely Lavaggi. There is Ben Collins leaving the pit road. Lavaggi on the same lap as the race leader, and he's still going for it, still charging. Motivated here, of course, by being an Italian at an Italian track in an Italian car.
And motivated by the fact that early on he dumped it into the gravel, and amazingly he's still got a chance of winning this race.
And there is the leader just going out of the shot there. That's the Courage in the hands now of Laurent Redon. Another Ferrari heading in towards us there. That number 2 is the Lilian Brenner Enzo Calderari car. Enzo Calderari driving in number 2. We also mentioned in SR2 in this race Fabio Mancini, and those 2 drivers won the Tourist Trophy in 1987 at a very wet Silverstone in a BMW M3. Now in different cars, but in this FIA Sportscar Championship.
Well, now the Courage has a very healthy lead indeed, and finally Lavaggi steps out of the car and hands it over to his co-driver, who is the British driver Christian Van from Birmingham, who has joined him this year. Christian, probably better known to most of you for racing a Marcos.
New tyres going on that car, and a quadruple stint in effect from Giovanni Lavaggi. Well, if he was feeling a bit sheepish after going into the gravel, he's more than made amends, and I just worry about the Courage there. There looked like a wisp of smoke coming out of the back of that car. Back in the race goes Ferrari number 3, Christian Van now behind the wheel.
Well, I reckon the Courage has got a massive, vast lead of some 3 laps. They just need to stroke it home, really. But in sports car racing, well, anything can happen. Christian Van back on the circuit then, warming up those new tyres.
Yeah, he comes into a car that in this race is alien to him. Lavaggi knows all about it, but Van being sent into the race in a car that, of course, he's still learning about, and he's got to get on with the job as quickly as possible. There was a Porsche going off ahead of him there. There is Laurent Redon, Jean-Christophe Bouillon still to get into that car. And Redon now accelerating down towards the Parabolica. And bear in mind, in this bizarre race, that's the leader, and a while ago we saw it touring around for most of a lap on 3 wheels.
And we have another challenger. This is Marco Zadra just coming in for his pit stop. We have another challenger who's been off in the gravel and had to be physically lifted into the air and out of the gravel trap.
Ferrari number 2 there, that's got a problem. Marco Zadra has only just taken that over from Calderara. It's pushed into the garage, looked a bit oily round the back, and that is a retirement.
This car is leading SR2 by a country mile. Larry Alberto driving the car, of course, with Ted Bjork, the former Barber Dodge driver, and they have a 4-lap lead over the Lucchini of Denny Zardo and Mauro Prospero.
Yeah, Denny Zardo, former Maserati Ghibli racer, and they're going through is the class of the SR2 field. And this is the battle for 5th place between the Riley and Scott of Mauro Baldi and the Reynard of Guy Smith. Now, another great duel here between an old hand and a newcomer to sports car racing. Mauro Baldi, winner here last year, still charging onto the Riley and Scott. And look at Guy Smith, he's going to try to go around the outside of him here. Absolutely together, and the Reynard does it. Great move by Guy Smith, and look at that, a back marker right in the way as well. That was a brave effort by Smith.
Yeah, Mauro Baldi won this race back in 1990. Former world sports car champion, former Grand Prix driver, raced for a long time for the Arrows team, if you remember, David, and still very competitive in his 40s.
Race order, Laurent Redon leading Ben Collins. Val Hillebrand, after going into the gravel, is 3rd. Guy Smith, we've just seen him take 4th of Mauro Baldi. Sam Hancock is currently in 6th place, and Christian Van still charging his way up through the order. Here he is now, turning his way through the chicane, back on the power. And that Ferrari, we said it in Barcelona, it's not the youngest of cars out there, Andrew, but it's still a very competitive one.
No, it certainly is, and this is the battle for 4th place. Guy Smith here, challenging the Dome. Interesting to see if Guy will get past. Of course, races the Audi in America for Stefan Johansson, one of the Bentley boys now, will be driving that car at Le Mans in a few weeks' time. And you almost see the brake dust come off the front of that car, and Guy Smith just sticks his hand out the cockpit, says, "Thanks for giving me room, folks."
And off he goes. Look at the way that Guy Smith instantly starts to pull away there from the Dome. And that car now really going at a totally different pace. All respect due to Mark Smithson and Peter Owen, but Guy Smith is that bit quicker. And again, you can see all that horrible, dirty brake dust flying out of the front right corner, going into the Parabolica. The checkered Dome losing touch now.
Well, here's the car which continues to lead, and it's the Courage of Redon. And just wondering if the engine sounds a little sick. Meanwhile, back in the pits, the Dome is there.
Lammers out, Hillebrand back in for what's probably going to be the last hour, I would have thought, of the race.
And we should have said that Bouillon now definitely going slowly. That's Jean-Christophe Bouillon bringing the car in. And certainly that's not the 60 kilometre speed limit. That car has a big problem. It has a massive lead, but they're going to have to fix it very quickly if it's going to win the Monza 1,000 kilometres, David.
It's got a 4-lap lead, but a good lap round here is about 1 minute 40. So that 4 laps, you see, can be very quickly eroded. And so big problems for the Courage. It is in the pits. And now the Ascari in the hands of Ben Collins comes down to the Parabolica. It looks as though that car is going to inherit the lead, possibly even the win.
Well, the Courage is being pushed away. I'm sure that Mark Cole's going to be down there to find out what has happened.
It's a very good battle all afternoon with the rest of the field.
Yes, I think we had really the best car, and we were really competitive. It's much more sad, you know, when we when we can win the race. For sure, it's a big disappointment.
We're hearing the problem is a failed oil pump on the engine, the Peugeot engine, which is based on a production unit.
Now the Ascari leads at the moment. In third place is Guy Smith, and there he is, charging his way through the Parabolica. But how about this? Up into fourth in this amazing race now, and there is the Ferrari look in the background. Giovanni Lavaggi in this car, which was in the gravel bed earlier on. It lost over a lap. It has come storming back up through the field. What about the podium here for Lavaggi? He has not given up yet. He's catching up to Guy Smith, who moves ahead of the Dutch Dome there.
This is a race of the most amazing twists and turns, the like of which I think I've ever seen before. It's exciting for the fans, and I'm sure it's exciting for you, and it's not over yet.
Now still quite a few of the teams have to make another pit stop. For example, Guy Smith has to come in yet, and that's going to cost him a plate, I would have thought, to Lavaggi, but also Giovanni has to come in. There is Guy Smith down the pit lane. So Lavaggi now gets himself up into the top three. Guy Smith sits there. He's going to do the final stint in that car. Interesting to see how when he was in the British F3 Championship, he was quick but never really thought of as a champion. In sports car racing, he has blossomed, and there in trouble is the Riley and Scott. What next in this race? What next?
Well, that's parked to the first Lesmo there, and Van Capelli at the wheel. He's going nowhere. I think that's definitely blown up.
Yeah, the car being pushed away, look. Down the Marshalls car park. So once again, the order of the race is shuffled as towards us now comes Guy Smith with Giovanni Lavaggi getting right onto his tail in that Ferrari.
Yeah, the Ascari's got a lead of some 35 seconds over the battle for second place, and there it is. Smith's Reynard versus Giovanni Lavaggi. Giovanni has a good engineering background and has always wanted a race. Had this great dream of getting into Formula One, of course, raced briefly for Pacific. But since, of course, won the Daytona 24 hours, and the man is on a big charge here. He's on a mission. Still that SR2 Lola leading, and I think, David, just 4 of the SR1 cars still going.
It's been a very gruelling race, this, hasn't it? It's a short lap at Monza. It's been virtually flat out right the way. The traffic getting in the way a little bit as well now, but there is Guy Smith wriggling his way through ahead of Lavaggi, who first really burst onto the scene, I suppose, to British race fans in 1993 when he came to Donington, driving the open-top Kramer Porsche 962 in Interserie, won the race, got the lap record. Across the line goes the Ascari, though. Werner Lutberger back behind the wheel of that great car. It's had a lot of luck in its career, but all of it bad. Is it today when it gets some good luck for a change? No! Cloud of smoke out of the back there, going into the chicane. Now, was that tyre smoke or was that mechanical? Let's see. Looks okay now, picks up again.
I think that was just blocking up the brakes and flat spotting the tyres, maybe. Guy Smith comes in.
In comes the Ferrari as well.
These are the last scheduled stops. Incidentally, the Reynard is actually running on Avon tyres, and we're not used to seeing them in this form of racing. They run on the SR2 cars, but not on the SR1s. A late decision. There's Giovanni Lavaggi with the ball on his crash helmet. There is the Reynard, Guy Smith. And Smith out, well ahead of Lavaggi. And that hand signal said that was a bit of a slow stop, wasn't it, folks?
Lavaggi not at all happy about that. That's cost him valuable time as well, hasn't it? Banging the steering wheel in frustration. That is the car's second in SR2. It's the Lucchini of Denizardo and Mauro Prospero, and they're on target for their best ever finish. That was the car that last year won outright at Spa in that bizarre race we had in the wet. Well, this is a pretty weird race as well, but it's a great race to watch. Guy Smith now charging up towards the Parabolica. He's about to lap Val Hillebrand as well. Now Guy Smith secure in second place. The Ascari lead. Smith is second, and he's now 12 seconds clear of Giovanni Lavaggi. It really is remarkable, all 3 of those cars, because the Ascari has had its dramas from time to time. The Ferrari has been in the gravel, and don't forget as well that Peter Owen had that spin. Mark Smithson had a puncture. The car also had a stop-go penalty for speeding in the pit lane, and Guy Smith has got it up to second place. Fantastic race this. There are so many stories unfolding. There is Guy Smith out of the chicane, up through the gears, pulling away from the lapped dome. Good to see that car still going though, Andrew. It's had its problems, granted the dome, but it's more data. Very important that for the team.
The leader in the pits, David. The last stop for the Ascari, and it doesn't want to restart.
It's a problem, isn't it? It's a problem. Heartbreaking this for Werner Lundberger. It's fired up now. Out it will go. Now how much time has that lost them?
Oh, this race is going to have an amazing finish. Well, Werner Lundberger will drive his socks off now, I'm sure. And look at Lavaggi right behind him.
Through they go. The Ascari then back in the race. The Ferrari right with him. Slower cars to worry about as well.
But in the lead, it's the Reynard and Guy Smith. What a sensational race, and there is the battle for second place. Well, very different chassis there, but both those cars running the Judd V10 engine. John Judd's engine development company in Rugby. The sports car version of the engine developed by John's son. And look at this, neck and neck. And Lavaggi pulls out, they have the same engine. He just has more speed. It could be gearing, it might be slipperiness of the Ferrari, and Porsche in the way.
Back through!
Yes!
Fantastic! Guy Smith back through on the inside. He might have been out dragged, but he was better there with the traffic and better on the brakes. Great stuff!
Larry Alberto's going great again here in Monza.
Oh, this is fantastic. The car's a dream to drive, and unfortunately our competition had problems. We wish they were still out there, but we're cruising along, and you got to make it to the finish still, so got my fingers crossed.
Meanwhile, Giovanni Lavaggi having another go at Werner Lundberger. The Ascari is pretty wide here. GT Porsche again getting in the way, being used for a tow. And what about Lavaggi? Is he going to come out of slipstream? Who's the last of the late breakers? It's Werner Lundberger. Into the Parabolica, sometimes known as the Diabolica. And this is where Lavaggi seems to be quick. He gets the drive out of there, takes the inside lane alongside the pit wall. And can he make it stick this time?
He's got the place, now can he hang on to it, because there the Ascari has not given up. But this time, Lavaggi is equal to the task. He closes the door in anticipation, doesn't he?
Just 7 laps to go in this phenomenal Monza 1,000 kilometres. What a race it's been. Reynard Judd leads, Ferrari Judd is second, Ascari Judd is third.
Now, we were predicting early on that it was going to be a top 6 for Lavaggi, then we predicted maybe the top 3. He's up into second place, there is the leader. I just wonder whether Lavaggi can do anything at all about Guy Smith, because look at the gap coming down, hand over fist. The Ferrari is absolutely charging. Guy Smith is still there in charge, but the way that Lavaggi is going suggests that he's not given up yet at all, and he might yet, in the remaining few laps, just be able to challenge Guy Smith for the lead.
Well, Smith has certainly got a problem. They haven't changed their front brakes, remember. Look at that, it's got a problem with the brakes. Guy Smith, remember the Ascari did change, so that was a good move, and I think Guy Smith will have to come into the pits, although there's hardly anything they can do about it. Guy Smith peels off now.
The Ferrari that lost a lap when it spun into the gravel is leading the Monza 1,000 kilometres within the last 6 laps up to the checker flag. An absolutely extraordinary race and a tremendous drive by Giovanni Lavaggi. And Guy Smith not at all happy. He's in the pits and the team wasn't ready for him either, Andrew. Now they're getting themselves ready, so more time being lost there.
Hand signal saying, yeah, it's going straight to the floor. He tells Mark Smithson. Mark Smithson just waves, carry on. You just got to limp it to the finish now. There's only a few laps to go. And no racing driver likes a car without any brakes.
So this is the new race leading car. The Ferrari once again looks like it's going to triumph. Giovanni Lavaggi and Christian Van on target for his first win as a driver. Lavaggi's won in the championship before, but a tremendous drive by the pair of them. Also, of course, well worth noting the efforts of Guy Smith in that Reynard, and also Lundberger and Ben Collins, who have shone once again in the Ascari. But the race isn't over yet. We've seen how many things have changed so far. It could yet all get turned on its head once again. The dome there, charging on, latching onto the tail of Guy Smith now, of course. Guy Smith hindered by no brakes. The dome going much better now in relative terms.
Well, John Mangaletti's formula has really come up trumps this time. Remember, there is a price cap on the sale of these chassis and engines. That's helped to bring everything close together. And the Monza 1000 case of 2001 will be remembered for years. We still don't know who's going to win it.
Well, that's the Dome moving ahead of Guy Smith, who of course have got to try to slow that car down so early with the absence of any brakes. Going to do it all through the gears there. Turns his way now back onto the straight. There, 5 seconds behind the race leader is Werner Lutberger, but Giovanni Lavaggi and the Ferrari goes through then onto the last lap of this extraordinary race. We've had nearly 6 hours of racing and still only 5 seconds separate the top 2 cars. There they are. Giovanni Lavaggi, Christian Van, Ferrari Jump, the combination that looks like it's going to win here at Monza, but that might be speaking a fraction too soon. Only the Parabolica and the run up towards the line to go. What a race and what a drive by Lavaggi.
Yeah, superb drive. Let's not forget Christian Van. He put in his stint and did a good job. Christian Van, the British driver, so it looks as if we may have a Briton on the podium for the Monza 1000 Ks.
Here he is, up to the checkered flag. Ferrari to win in Italy.
Yeah, brilliant victory for Ferrari, brilliant victory for Giovanni Lavaggi. Crowning glory to his racing career, I would say. Winning on home soil, he's going to be over the moon with that. But a race, as we said, of so many twists and turns. And let's not forget that right in the early stages, Giovanni Lavaggi dumped it into the gravel, had to be lifted out, and he is the winner. And this is the winner of the SR2 class. They've been the class of the field all day. Larry Alberto coming home, sharing a car with the Swede Ted Bjork, and the car which did so well in America last year in Grand Am receives the victory laurels for SR2 category. Obviously they're disappointed they didn't have the pill beam of the Irish team to contend with, and no doubt there'll be some emotion down in the pits, David.
The GLV Brums team, I don't think, can take it all
On
in.
your second race for Ferrari, you win the Monza 1000 kilometres.
I don't know what to say. I just can't believe it. It's absolutely mega. Just don't know what to say.
But what a race. Everything that could go wrong for everyone else happened since we last spoke to you.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, luck was on our side. We've had terrible luck all weekend. I think we were due some, and it's happened for us now. We've won the race.
Well done. A great, great, famous victory.
Thank you very much.
Christian Van and that man, Giovanni Lavaggi, win the Monza 1000 kilometres for GLV Brums.
Incredible.
Incredible, yes. Simply incredible. Yeah. Coming out from nowhere, coming out of a gravel bed after stuck throttle and driving like hell.
Just
Werner Lutberger, Ben Collins, what an incredible race, huh?
Yeah, just Brum's Ferrari just caught us up in the last 10 laps, and there's nothing we could do about it. And on our last pit stop, we couldn't get the car started up again, so I reckon we must have lost close to 20 seconds on that. So quite a shame. I think we could have won it, but next time.
I mean, what would have been wonderful to give Ascari a win at the circuit, which has Ascari corner on it, but next time.
Yeah, it would have been fantastic. I think each of us led our stints. We're very unfortunate to lose it in the last minute, but no fault of the team. Did a fantastic job all weekend. I think so. We go try win the next one.
Well said from Ben Collins there, and I'm sure Ascari will win one of these races pretty soon. The appreciative crowd, David, and of course the champagne.
And a very popular win, an Italian driver, an Italian car, and that a race Lavaggi always wanted to win. Champagne everywhere, big smile from the winner.
Giovanni Lavaggi, great victory, 1,000 kilometres in Monza. The race you always wanted to win.
Yes, it's a very fantastic race. This in the Monza, my circuit. My first race was here, so I'm very happy. And with all the problems we had in the practice, it's really unbelievable.
Let's then confirm the results. Quite a lot of DNFs, of course. Disappointment, particularly for Pescarolo's sport team, who led it for so long. But just 4 finishes in the SR1 category. And at the top of the pile, Christian Van and Giovanni Lavaggi from Ben Collins, Werner Lutberger, Lavers and Hildebrand, Owen Smithson and Guy Smith, who drove magnificently.
And this, the SR2 podium. Victory again for Ted Bjork and Larry Alberto. Another great drive by the pair of them, standing on the top step of the podium here at Monza. Caps off.
Tall Swede and short American.
And now the champagne. Great scenes of celebration here. First win of the season for Ted Bjork and Larry Alberto. Great race as ever in SR2, although today it's been a touch overshadowed by the drama going on for the overall result. Once again, lots of DNF. Sadly, Michael Malika retirement. So too Raimondo Francioni's car. Arturo Mezzario in the Debra didn't finish either. For Britain, Ian Carr and Martin Henderson were fourth. Pasquale Barberio third. Prospero and Zardo second, but the win in SR2, Ted Bjork and Larry Alberto.
Yes, David, we can now check out the championship positions in both categories. Of course, at the top of the SR1 division, a lot of people on 20 points. Giovanni Lavaggi, Christian Pescatori, Christian Van and Marco Zadra. And then coming down after that in fifth place, all with 15 points, Ben Collins, Werner Luckberger, William Breiner, Enzo Calderari and Angelo Zadra. Meanwhile, just looking at the teams championship, GLV Bruns and BMS Scuderia Italia on the top of the pile. Team Ascari third, then R&M had a horrible day, but is still in fourth position, tied with Racing for Holland. Here's the drivers' points in SR2. Ted Bjork and Larry Alberto well in the lead with 35 with a second and first place. Warren Carway, Martin O'Connell are second, not racing here of course, and then Mauro Prospero. In the teams, it's SRTS, that's Alberto's team with 35, Rowan Racing with 20, and Lucchini Engineering have 18, and then all the rest of the contenders. Also in SR2 over in America on the same day, a victory for the Lola there. But the man of the moment, Giovanni Lavaggi, winner of the Monza 1,000 kilometres.